Hello everyone, my name's Kitetsu and welcome back to my channel. Right, I thought seeing as I've got a spare minute, I'm going to make another video. Now, something I didn't mention in yesterday's video about the incredible first book of the Broken Realms series Morathi is all of the stuff relating to Slaanesh in there. I kind of mentioned it as a brief afterthought and I was getting so excited about everything going on with Morathi that I forgot to mention that I wanted to do a whole second video on what's going on with Slaanesh because it's really important. Some of you might be looking at the pre-order items and thinking, why is it that the Shadow and Pain box is basically focused around the Daughters of Khaine and Slaanesh with, where is the guy? This wonderful looking new model right here. And the reason is that Slaanesh are incredibly important to this story. And in fact, a third video that I want to make on this book is my predictions of where this series is going to go next. Now, I had a good old chat with some of the people on my Facebook group, and I've had a few theories myself of where I think this series is going to go. But yeah, I will make that in a following video at some point. Okay, so last time we saw Slaanesh, it was in this absolutely beautiful piece of artwork here. Now, here he is imprisoned by the elves with these kind of magical towers, these chains holding him in place. And yeah, he's not having too good a time. This, by the way, is one of my favourite pieces of artwork that has ever been released for Games Workshop. Partly because it actually shows one of the Chaos Gods in nearly all of his glory, even if he's kind of covered in shadow. But in pretty much the first page of Broken Realms, this is the new piece of artwork that we get to see. Now, casting my Kitetsu lens over this artwork, I've noticed about 5 differences between this one and the one before. Number 1, stating the obvious, the lightning is all orange. Now, why is that important? Because it's suggesting that something is changing. The energy that's trapping him in place is becoming more sinister. Maybe it's losing its potency. Maybe he's tainting it. We don't really know for sure. The second difference is the magic pillars are starting to break. Third difference is we actually have chains being shown broken around him, so clearly the hold on Slaanesh is weakening. We've got his beady little eye, whereas in the previous artwork he kind of looked really hunched over and in pain, whereas now he looks more empowered. And yeah, the fifth difference was just his overall pose. If you compare it to before and after, he doesn't really look like someone in torment anymore. Now, with that beautiful piece of artwork, we also get a prophecy written down on the right here, written by the Slaaneshi herald Glavia Sinhart. Let's go with Glavia. But I'm going to read that out to you right now. And when I was reading the Broken Realms book, it kind of didn't make sense initially. But when you go back to the prophecy and read it after everything's happened, it starts to make sense, as prophecies usually do. So here we go. The Dark Prince stirs, squirming against his twilight bonds. The sweet song of his faithful echoes from all corners of reality. With every shriek of agony and howl of trembling exultation, his power swells beyond the ken of his dull-witted jailers. One by one, the god chains are sundered, each fractured link concealed by the prince's impenetrable illusions. In their arrogant self-certainty, the elf lords fail to grasp what is coming. To the Prince of Perfection a progeny shall be born, the screams of shackled lightning shall herald its coming, the bitter oaths of the betrayed shall be its birth song. All will be decided before the walls of the great deceiver's fortress. The oceans will churn, the shadows will writhe. When the serpent's head splits in two beneath the glare of a crimson moon, then shall the newborn one come forth. At the zenith of exaltation it shall slither from the belly of its father, and the realms themselves shall quiver to witness its glittering magnificence. So there we have it, the prophecy in all its glory. Now, what this is actually referring to is basically 2 things. Number 1, it's telling you that the chains are breaking one by one. The elves have absolutely no idea this is happening because as Slaanesh is gaining power, he is able to conceal the fact that these chains are breaking with really powerful illusions. So as far as the elves are concerned, they're still seeing this right here. But the second thing it says is that Slaanesh is going to have a progeny, a son or a daughter, some kind of offspring, and that is going to happen when the serpent's head splits in two beneath the glare of a crimson moon. And I guess the third thing is that this is going to be fairly devastating for everyone aside from Slaanesh followers. So when it's talking about the snake's head splitting in two, it is of course referring to the ritual that Morathi carries out in the Broken Realms book. Now when she's carrying out this ritual, she's in her cauldron, she's kind of jumped into it, and that cauldron has been connected with the belly of Slaanesh through her powerful magic. She has the, what was it called? The Akarian lantern that she's stolen off the Ideneth, who are desperately trying to attack her to bring it back. But this passage here tells us exactly what happens while she has jumped into the so-called belly of Slaanesh. Now, she has her lantern, the Akarian lantern, and basically with the light of that lantern, she is able to draw some of the imprisoned souls from Slaanesh. Now, some of them are feeble, she kind of ignores them. Typical Morathi, has no regard for anything other than something that can benefit herself. She casts those aside, and she is searching for the most powerful souls within Slaanesh. She finds them, she calls them the King Souls, and one by one, in some horrifying scene, she captures and devours these souls. She draws them into herself, she fuses the power of these souls with the power of all of these remnants of the god Khaine, and tries to transcend herself into a goddess. Now, there is only one soul that she leaves behind. And there's a really important sentence here that says, where are we? One by one, the King Souls were devoured until only a single radiant spirit remained, perhaps the most powerful of all. On the threshold of her ascension, she hesitates, this being she had once shared a closeness with that her cruel heart had never experienced before or since. So she hesitates and doesn't absorb one of these souls because it's an ancient soul that she once felt really close to, and that soul is horrified with what she's done to the other souls in there, the other King Souls, so it splits her spirit in two. So when we end up with morathi-khaine after this ritual is complete, and she basically has two bodies connected by one soul, that is because her spirit has literally been ripped in half by a King Soul. In other words, she doesn't fully ascend in the way that she intended, and although we end up with the goddess morathi-khaine, she would have actually been far more powerful if she had have absorbed that final soul, and also she would have been a single body too. But right, we can work out exactly who that soul is, because there is only one other person that she ever felt truly connected to in the ancient times who is no longer alive. And that, if you watch my beginner's lore series, is none other than Anarion. Now, this story has been retconned all over the place, but in one version of the storyline, she said to Anarion as he was dying that she loved him, and he did not answer her, and the reason he couldn't bring himself to say it back is that he'd only ever loved one other person, and that was his wife, who died as well. Now, Anarion, of course, was insanely powerful. He wielded the Blade of Khaine, defeated the Coming of Chaos, and it was only apt that when Morathi tried to absorb him but hesitated, that he should turn into this massive sword that cleaved her soul in half. So yeah, guys, if you haven't been brushing up on your Warhammer fantasy lore, go and watch my fantasy lore series, which I do intend to continue at some point when I have more time. But the final thing that happens, it says right down the bottom here, the bloated body of Slaanesh began to convulse. A chorus of demented groans issued from the captive god's 1,000 mouths, followed by a flood of glittering drool. This substance takes a protein shape and it races after the retreating Shadow Queen. So basically, with the splitting in half of Morathi's soul, the god basically drools, and that drool turns into some kind of being of light that races across the sky after Morathi. I'm wondering wondering if maybe part of that soul he'd swallowed was within that drool. We don't really know. But the final incredible double page spread of that book is this one right here, with another absolutely fantastic piece of artwork. Right, so this massive kind of protean-like shape is flying through the sky. It's warping things that it flies past. Stone is turning into flesh, etc. All of these followers of Slaanesh are following this kind of beacon through the sky. They're weeping with joy, knowing that very soon, as it says here, that they will soon look upon the face of their beloved god and know true ecstasy. Thousands of Hedonites of Slaanesh watch as this being kind of takes form and becomes this being known as the Newborn. The skies are howling in protest, the shape grows wings, and we don't get to hear what its first words are, unfortunately. But essentially, the birth of this incredible godlike being is so wonderful to the followers of Slaanesh that loads of them literally die out of joy, I guess, and shock, because they can't handle the magnitude of the emotion going through them as this thing is born. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the rather shocking and rather huge event that takes place in the Broken Realms book. Now, what does this mean? The Newborn is clearly a god, or at the very least a demigod. It's basically Slaanesh, but at the same time it's not. It's the son of Slaanesh, but formed very much from part of him. But yeah, this is absolutely mad. We basically have a living embodiment of one of the Chaos Gods actually physically taking form in the realms. Like, nothing like this has ever happened in fantasy or Age of Sigmar. It's absolutely mad. And it's bonkers, and I totally love it. For me personally, my favourite story at the heart of everything has always been Morathi and Slaanesh and the elves, and they've always been so closely intertwined that I cannot wait to see where this is going to go. Does this mean we're actually going to get a model of this? That would be really wishful thinking, but please, Games Workshop, make that happen, because I would be so excited. What does this mean for Slaanesh himself? Well, the prophecy itself still says that the chains are breaking and Slaanesh at some point will be freed. Maybe the Newborn will be the one to go and finally free him. We have no idea. All we've got basically at the moment is our speculation. But wow, what a crazy ride. Let me know if you guys are as excited by this story as I am, because it's absolutely mad. And this is what I meant. The Broken Realms series has the potential to be, well, I think it already is the most defining moment that we have seen in the Mortal Realms so far. I really have no idea what they're going to do to build up the 3rd edition, because these storylines are already about as exciting to me as it could possibly get. But yeah, don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe. I will be making my 3rd video as soon as I have a chance to discuss where I think the Broken Realms will go next. And yeah, I really do want to hear your thoughts down below, because I think, you know, stories like this are why I said the narrative deserves a 10 out of 10 for the Broken Realms Morathi book, and just fills me with excitement for where this is going to go next. So like the video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already. Drop me a comment down below to tell me what you think about this story, and I will see you guys really soon in the next video.